Hello my friends, in today's video we will be comparing iPhone 15 Pro, DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and Insta360 Ace Pro. These are currently my top 3 favorite cameras that can fit into a pocket. All of them offer a lot of great technologies, but they are very different, which is great because they offer very different sets of creative options. In this video I will try to explain the differences between them to maybe help some people decide which way to go. Besides that, I will also try to illustrate how all three can work together and why I think that this is the ultimate compact camera setup at the moment. The most obvious difference is the form factor. The iPhone 15 Pro is a smartphone, pretty much everybody has one, so there is not much to explain there. The biggest advantage is that if you have one, you probably carry it all the time, so it is not a separate device to worry about. On the other hand, there are some people who specifically don't want their smartphone and their camera to be the same device. The build quality on the 15 Pro is great. The titanium construction is super solid, it is IP68 rated and it can withstand a reasonable amount of damage. DJI Pocket 3 is basically a small camera mounted on a gimbal with a sufficiently large handle where all of the necessary stuff is stored. It is still a Pocket, but it is much larger than Pocket 1 and 2. It is very compact considering what it can do, but taking it with me is a bit less of a no-brainer than with previous generations. It is well made despite that most of the construction is plastic. Much like any other gimbal, it is a sensitive device that is not meant to take any beating. Insta360 Ace Pro is mostly a conventional action camera, with one physical difference being the rotating screen. Action cameras have been slowly growing in size and the Ace Pro is on the larger side. Much like the Pocket 3, it still offers a great size to performance ratio. I can confidently say that the rotating screen does not compromise the durability of the camera in any way. The Ace Pro has been criticized for not having a removable lens cover, which is not a big deal for me personally, but I understand that some people are not happy with that decision. Probably the most important aspect of all three devices is the type of pictures and footage that they can output. The Pocket 3 uses 20mm focal length. As I've explained in my videos about Pocket 3 and 2, I still think that it is the best compromise. It is wide enough to be immersive and very suitable for video blog type of content, but at the same time it is not too wide for all-round use. Unlike the Pocket 2, Pocket 3 can only use simple digital zoom, so we are pretty much stuck with 20mm focal length unless you are willing to sacrifice image quality. The Ace Pro uses about 16mm focal length in the default Ultra setting. That is a pretty typical action camera field of view suitable for action, POV, and to a certain degree also point and shoot type of use. The Ace Pro uses a high resolution sensor, so it has very usable zoom capabilities. The iPhone is by far the most versatile. The main camera uses 24mm focal length, which is in my opinion more interesting than 26mm focal length on older iPhones. Ultra-wide camera really is ultra-wide at 13mm. 77mm focal length is very suitable for portraits or objects far away. The main camera with a 24mm lens also uses high-resolution sensor, so you can get very usable focal lengths between 24 and 50mm. Despite all of the talks about computational photography, artificial intelligence, and smart HDR, the most significant generational upgrade shared among all three devices discussed in this video is the good old sensor enlargement. iPhone 15 Pro and Insta360 Ace Pro use a 48MP 1/1.3-inch sensor, very likely the same one. Pocket 3 uses even larger 1-inch type sensor, but with lower 12MP resolution. Let's talk about the stills quality first. The iPhone 15 Pro is capable of taking stills that can go deep into dedicated camera territory. 48MP resolution is a real deal, and so is Apple's stacked ProRAW format. An option to shoot 24MP stills in the default mode and 48MP HEIFs makes the potential of the sensor much more accessible to non-power users. The stills capture a great amount of detail, and the HDR processing is pretty much getting toned down with every iPhone generation, which is a very welcome development. The other two cameras shoot nice 12-megapixel stills, including very solid RAW files, but they can't match the main camera, of course. That 48-megapixel sensor is also a real deal in the Ace Pro, which is in a league of its own when it comes to stills. These are extremely detailed by action camera standards, and I can say that this is a very relevant ultra-wide stills camera. The RAW files are very solid as well. The Pocket 3 can't quite match the other two since it only has quarter of the resolution, but it still shoots very nice 4K stills. The RAWs capture a good amount of dynamic range and they give you reasonable flexibility. Regarding the video quality, the winner might be a bit of a surprise, and it is the Insta360 Ace Pro with one caveat. You have to shoot in 8K to get the best possible image quality. If you do so, you will get an output that is once again in a league of its own among the action cameras. It captures a great amount of detail that even rivals DSLM cameras with ultra-wide lenses. The iPhone and the Pocket 3 are limited to 4K, and the 4K quality is remarkably similar between all three devices. The iPhone still uses more sharpening than the other two, but it is nowhere near as degrading as with older iPhones. The Pocket 3 offers the most natural look. It is the only one that is not using local tone mapping HDR, but it can still capture a great amount of dynamic range. Local tone mapping HDR on the Ace Pro is also very toned down, and the amount of sharpening with medium setting is optimal, so I am also very happy with the processing of the Ace Pro. Insta360 allows you to turn off the HDR in any mode, which is a great option and my personal choice. In that case, you will get a very nice amount of natural dynamic range and very natural colors. Regarding the frame rates, the Ace Pro can shoot real 4K 120p, no questions asked. Pocket 3 can kind of shoot 4K 120p, but only in slow motion mode, and the footage is pre-slowed to 24 or 25p in camera. The iPhone is the loser in this regard. You can only shoot 4K up to 60p. You need to downgrade to Full HD for higher frame rates. When it comes to the low light, iPhone and Pocket 3 share the first place. Both judge low light scenes very well, they are not trying to turn light into day, and the overall rendering is really good. The amount of noise depends on the dynamic range, but it is the lowest among consumer cameras. The Ace Pro has a darker lens, but it is really good for an action camera, actually the best together with the Action 4. A disadvantage of the iPhone are light spots, which are greatly reduced in comparison to previous generations, but some are still visible. A disadvantage of the Pocket 3 and the Ace Pro is that you need to use specific low light mode to get the best results. The Ace Pro has a fixed focus, which means that it doesn't need to use the autofocus, but it also means that the minimum focus distance is at least 40 cm, which is not ideal for some types of use. The iPhone and the Pocket use autofocus. It works great on both, there is no issue with the autofocus itself with either. Both show quite a bit of focus breathing though, but very few people will care about that with a device of this type. When it comes to video specifications, I feel like the iPhone is also the overall loser here. The Pocket 3 is also limited to 4K, but it has that full 1-inch type sensor and it can shoot 4K 120p. The 8K on the Ace Pro reveals what Apple could have done with the same hardware in terms of video, but chose not to. The Ace Pro shoots 8K, 4K 120p, it lets you turn the local tone mapping on or off, and that is basically everything that I've ever asked for. The stabilization is one of the most interesting parts of this comparison. For me personally, the winner in this category is probably DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Not necessarily because of the effectiveness, but mostly because the gimbal is a more advanced type of stabilization. First of all, you can choose from 4 modes. There is the follow mode, tilt lock mode, and FPV mode, which follows all of your movements, including the horizontal axis. That is basically the only mode available on the iPhone and the Ace Pro. Unlike the other two, Pocket 3 can keep the horizon leveled, which is a huge advantage. A weakness of the Osmo Pocket is the walking. Just like any other 3-axis gimbal, it does not stabilize the Z-axis, so we will have to walk more carefully to get good results. It seems that the minimal panning speed when using joystick was improved by a firmware update, so you can achieve pretty smooth panning with the Pocket 3. The object tracking on the Pocket 3 is also very impressive. You can simply select the object to follow by double tapping on the screen. It will also detect faces in the frame automatically, and it will start tracking people in the frame. This is one of my favorite features of the Pocket 3. Another advantage of the Osmo Pocket is that you can control the gimbal remotely, so you can basically compose the shot using a smartphone app. Gimbal is also great for motion lapses and hyperlapses. The stabilization on the Ace Pro is excellent, much like with other action cameras released in 2023. It is extremely effective, works great for walking, driving, and even running. The lag issues were pretty much fixed by firmware updates. There are 3 stabilization settings: low, standard, and high. Standard is fine for all-round use, so I recommend just leaving that one on all the time. Overall, I am very happy with the stabilization. The low-light stabilization is also outstanding. The iPhone stabilization has been great for a long time, so it is not a surprise that it is the case with the iPhone 15 Pro as well. It uses a combination of sensor stabilization and digital stabilization on the main camera, and it works great. It matches the best action cameras on the market. Ultra-wide camera only uses digital stabilization, but it works great as well. The telephoto camera uses optical image stabilization and digital stabilization, and it is good enough for static shots, which is all that I can require at this focal length. The iPhone obviously has the best display here. It is a 6.1-inch OLED display with 441 pixels per inch, 2000 nits of maximal brightness, and it just looks fantastic. People take these modern OLED displays for granted, but I think that they deserve a lot of praise. I would say that the Ace Pro and Pocket 3 share the second place. The Ace Pro has a larger 2.4-inch display, but the Pocket 3 has a 2-inch AMOLED display. The Ace Pro display looks great, it is bright enough, and generally the best display that you can find on an action camera. The OLED display on the Pocket 3 is sufficiently bright and it looks great, so this is one of few correct implementations of an OLED display on a camera. With Pocket 3 you can get about 140 minutes of 4K video on a full charge, which is an excellent result. You can also get a battery handle, which will increase the battery life to well over 200 minutes. With the Ace Pro you can get about 100 minutes, which is also not bad, but there are action cameras with better battery life. On the other hand, it is the only camera with a removable battery here. You can actually get at least 250 minutes of 4K video on a full charge with iPhone 15 Pro, which is probably the most that I've ever got with anything that shoots video. It was quite difficult to sum up this one. First of all, I will confidently say that all 3 are winners. All of them are very advanced and powerful devices and cameras that can do pretty amazing stuff. With that out of the way, which one should you get? DJI Pocket 3 is a great device for vlogging, point-and-shoot type of use, traveling, and that sort of stuff. It shoots very nice video with that 1-inch sensor, and the gimbal is still the most advanced type of stabilization with many advantages, as I've explained. The handling is very intuitive and the display solution is excellent. Size increase in comparison with Pocket 1 and 2 and use of a 12 megapixel sensor are compromises, but it is still an excellent device overall. The Insta360 Ace Pro is the most advanced action camera so far. It has unique 8K capabilities with the best output of all pocket cameras on the market. It is also the best stills camera among action cameras by a significant margin. I also greatly appreciate the option to simply turn the local tone mapping on or off. Rotating the screen is a great solution as well. It is a bit larger than most other action cameras and the lens cover could have been removable, but I am still a huge fan. iPhone 15 Pro uses pretty incredible hardware, but some of the choices on the software side are a bit odd in my opinion. The stills capabilities of the 15 Pro are just amazing. That 48 megapixel mode goes deep into dedicated camera territory, and it finally allows regular users to take almost full advantage of that outstanding sensor. The Ace Pro has shown what is possible with this kind of hardware in terms of the video, and that the iPhone doesn't really go anywhere near the full potential of the hardware in that regard. It is still a very solid video camera, it shoots nice 4K, and the local tone mapping is not that intrusive anymore. An obvious advantage is that it is also your pocket computer, and if you need an iPhone anyway, the camera is kind of included. I certainly don't mind having all three of them. I think that this is the best compact consumer camera setup ever. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.